exodus from the city. Let's go live to CNN's Anderson Cooper, who joins us from Tokyo. And Anderson, today the top U.S. nuclear official broke with Japanese officials on major analysis of aspects of their nuclear crisis. There in Japan, is there a sense the government is being fully transparent with the people?
Absolutely not. I mean, I think there's real concerns here among many people that the Japanese government is basically taking all their cues and getting all their information from this Japanese company which runs this plant. You think back to the oil spill in the United States, and there was concerns that BP had too much of a role in cleaning up the spill or in calling the shots, and the U.S. government kept saying, no, we're the ones calling the shots. No one is saying that here. This private company is controlling the flow of information out of this plant. So all the information about what's actually happening in this plant is coming from this public company which has a record of misleading the public and not being transparent. The Japanese government, in their public statements, I got to tell you, I listened to an interview given by the spokesman for the Japanese Prime Minister on CNN about 10 hours ago, and it was stunning. He said a lot of stuff, but he didn't really say anything at all. I mean, all the statements were sort of feel-good statements that actually had no detail, no real level of detail in terms of radiation levels, and no real understanding of what is going on in that plant. Now, it may be very well that the Japanese government simply does not have that level of detail because they're not getting it from the private company. So I think people in Tokyo in particular were very interested to hear from U.S. officials who are saying, talking about the seriousness of this. You had the Energy Secretary, Stephen Chu, saying in a statement which got a lot of attention here, saying we really don't know what's going on in that plant. So the U.S. government doesn't really know what's going on in that plant. Clearly, they're getting their information from the Japanese government. So there's a lot of concern that the government here certainly doesn't really seem to have their hands around it, or that no one really seems to have their hands around it exactly, and no one really seems to be taking a leadership role and being in control of it. Now, the Japanese government will say, well, look, we've set up a very unique situation. We've set up a committee with an integrated task force with the Japanese government and this private company. But that was just done yesterday. You kind of wonder, why wasn't that done sooner, and how effective will that really be? There's a lot of questions that frankly, there are no answers to, and it's very upsetting for people all throughout Japan.
Anderson, it's Aisha here. To your point about this sense that the electrical company, the Tokyo Electric Power Company, can't get their hands around this problem, is this whole issue